Billionaire gave his breakfast to poor girl. Weeks later she was on his doorstep. He was shocked. The moment Elijah Stone opened his door that rainy Tuesday night, his entire world shifted. The woman standing there, drenched, determined, and holding a small package, was about to change everything he thought he knew about fate. But how did a simple act of kindness lead to this life-altering encounter? 3 weeks earlier, Elijah had been having the worst morning of his life. His tech empire was crumbling, investors were pulling out, and the board was threatening to remove him as CEO. Little did he know, giving away his untouched breakfast sandwich would set off a chain of events that would save not just one life, but two. Maya Jenkins had been homeless for 8 months when she encountered the distracted billionaire outside that coffee shop. What she discovered inside that paper bag would lead her on a desperate search across the city, but would she find him before it was too late? Growing up in foster care had taught Maya to trust no one. The streets of Chicago had only reinforced that lesson. Every day was a battle against hunger, the elements, and the predatory figures who saw her vulnerability as an opportunity. Her talent for art was her only escape, sketching portraits of strangers on scraps of paper she collected from trash cans. Elijah Stone had everything, on paper. His tech company, Stoneware, had revolutionized medical software, making him a billionaire before 30. But behind the Forbes covers and TED Talks was a deeply lonely man haunted by his past. The son of immigrants who had sacrificed everything for his education, Elijah carried the weight of their dreams and the guilt of his younger brother's death. That fateful morning, Elijah had been too stressed to eat. Walking out of his favorite cafe, mind consumed with the company's impending collapse, he nearly collided with Maya. "Watch it," he snapped, then immediately regretted his tone when he saw her thin frame and worn clothes. "Sorry," she mumbled, eyes downcast. Something in her dignity despite her circumstances struck him. "Here," he said, handing her the paper bag. "I'm not hungry." Maya hesitated before accepting. "Thanks." As Elijah walked away, his phone rang with news that would consume his next 3 weeks. His company's main server had been hacked, and years of medical research data were being held for ransom. What Maya found in that paper bag wasn't just a sandwich and coffee. Tucked inside was a custom USB drive Elijah had absent-mindedly left there, containing the only backup of an algorithm that could save his company and potentially thousands of lives. Maya didn't discover this until that night, when she used a computer at the public library. The drive contained strange code but also Elijah's contact information. She recognized his name from news articles but had no way to reach him. Meanwhile, Elijah's world was imploding. The hackers demanded $50 million, and without the backup, he had no leverage. His board turned against him, led by his trusted mentor and now revealed antagonist, Victor Reeves, who had orchestrated the hack to force Elijah out and take control of the revolutionary medical software for his own profit. "You're finished, Elijah," Victor told him during a tense board meeting. Sometimes the student needs to learn when to step aside. For 3 weeks, Maya tried everything to find Elijah, sleeping in shelters and under bridges while protecting the drive that she somehow knew was important. Using her artistic skills, she created a detailed portrait of Elijah based on news photos and showed it around his company's neighborhood. Finally, a security guard recognized him and reluctantly shared his address after seeing the desperation in Maya's eyes. Standing on his doorstep that rainy night, Maya held out the USB drive. "I think you need this," she said simply. Elijah stared at the small device, recognition dawning. "Where did you?" "The sandwich. 3 weeks ago." His legs nearly gave out as he invited her inside. That night, as rain pounded against the windows of his penthouse, Maya explained her journey while Elijah restored the backup and secured his company's future. "You saved everything," he whispered, voice breaking. "Why go through all this trouble for a stranger who barely looked at you?" Maya's eyes met his. "Because someone once told me that kindness matters most when it's hardest to give." The words hit Elijah like a physical blow. They were the exact words his mother had spoken to him the day before she died, a coincidence so profound it left him speechless. He'd never shared that phrase with anyone. "Who told you that?" he asked, his voice barely audible over the storm outside. Maya's expression softened. "An old woman at the shelter. She died last winter. Mrs. Rosario." Elijah's coffee mug slipped from his fingers, shattering on the marble floor. "Elena Rosario?" Maya nodded, confused by his reaction. "You knew her?" "She was my mother's best friend," Elijah whispered. "They immigrated together. She disappeared after Mom's funeral. I searched for years." That night, as they pieced together their connected histories, something deeper than attraction began to form, a sense that their meeting wasn't coincidence but destiny. Elena had been watching over Maya, recognizing in the homeless artist the same fierce determination she'd seen in young Elijah's mother decades ago. In the days that followed, Elijah helped Maya secure housing and art supplies. He was moved by her talent and sponsored her first gallery showing. Victor was exposed and faced criminal charges for corporate espionage. But something unexpected grew between Maya and Elijah, a connection born of two broken people recognizing themselves in each other. Their first kiss came 6 months later, under the twinkling lights of her gallery opening. "I gave you a sandwich," Elijah said, forehead pressed against hers. "You gave me back my life." "Maybe we saved each other," Maya whispered. On their wedding day a year later, Maya surprised Elijah with a painting, Elena Rosario and his mother, arms linked, smiling down on them. There wasn't a dry eye in the room when she unveiled it. The Stone Jenkins Foundation became their shared passion, providing housing and education for homeless youth with artistic talents. They established the Rosario Scholarship, specifically for immigrant children pursuing medical research, honoring both their mothers' dreams. "Sometimes the universe conspires to bring together souls that need each other," Elijah often said during foundation fundraisers, his hand firmly clasped with Maya's. One sandwich changed everything. What few people knew was that their journey together hadn't been without obstacles. 6 months into their relationship, Victor Reeves had been released on bail pending trial. Consumed by revenge, he'd hired private investigators to dig into Maya's past, uncovering painful secrets she'd tried to bury. "Did you know your fiancé was once arrested for theft?" Victor had sneered during a chance encounter at a charity gala. "Quite the Cinderella story you've created for the press." Elijah had dismissed the allegations, but doubt crept in. When he finally confronted Maya, her tears told him everything. "I stole medicine," she admitted, voice breaking. "For a little girl at the shelter. She was diabetic, and the clinic was closed. I couldn't watch her suffer." That night, Elijah held Maya as she finally released years of pain, how she'd taken the fall for the shelter director who'd actually stolen the medicine but couldn't risk losing her job. Maya had spent 3 months in juvenile detention at 16, a record that had followed her into adulthood, closing doors at every turn. "You sacrificed your future for someone else's child," Elijah had whispered into her hair. "That's who you are. That's who I love." The revelation only strengthened their bond. Together, they expanded the foundation's mission to include legal aid for homeless youth caught in impossible situations. They lobbied for legislation to seal juvenile records for nonviolent offenses, changing countless lives. On their 5th anniversary, they received news that would complete their family circle. After years of trying, Maya was pregnant with twins. The ultrasound revealed a boy and a girl, whom they would name after Elijah's brother and Elena Rosario. "Life has a way of coming full circle," Maya said, placing Elijah's hand on her growing belly. From that rainy doorstep to here, who would have believed it? The birth of the twins, Michael and Elena, brought both joy and unexpected challenges. Elena was born with a congenital heart defect that required immediate surgery. For 3 agonizing days, Maya and Elijah kept vigil in the NICU, their own hearts breaking as they watched their tiny daughter fight for her life. "I can't lose her," Maya whispered, her face pale with exhaustion. Not after everything. Elijah, who had always prided himself on being able to solve any problem with money or technology, found himself utterly powerless. In that sterile hospital room, the billionaire was just another terrified parent. It was during those dark hours that Victor Reeves made his final play. Having lost everything, his reputation, his freedom pending trial, his fortune to legal fees, he leaked fabricated evidence to tabloids suggesting that Elijah's medical software had fatal flaws that had caused patient deaths. The stock plummeted overnight. But fate wasn't finished with its intricate weaving. The cardiac surgeon who successfully operated on baby Elena had used Stoneware software to plan the delicate procedure, the very algorithm that Maya had returned to Elijah that rainy night years before. "Your software mapped her tiny heart with precision I've never seen before," the surgeon told them. "Without it, I couldn't have saved her." When the doctor's testimonial went public, countering Victor's false claims, the company's reputation was not only restored but strengthened. The final blow to Victor came when evidence emerged that he had attempted to sabotage the software after his initial hack failed, a discovery that would add attempted murder to his growing list of charges. As Elena grew stronger each day, Maya spent hours by her incubator, sketching her daughter's perfect features. One afternoon, Elijah found her crying silently over the drawing. "What is it, love?" he asked, alarmed. Maya showed him the sketch, baby Elena sleeping peacefully, but with what appeared to be two shadowy figures watching over her crib. "I didn't draw these," she whispered. "My hand just moved on its own." The figures, though faint, were unmistakable, Elena Rosario and Elijah's mother, standing guard over their namesake. When they brought the twins home to their penthouse, now filled with baby gear rather than bachelor minimalism, Elijah found Maya standing by the window where they had first talked that rainy night. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't given me that sandwich?" she asked softly. Elijah wrapped his arms around her from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder. "I used to think it was random chance. Now I know better." "What do you mean?" "That morning, I was going to eat alone in my office like always. Something made me walk to that cafe instead. Something made me distracted enough to leave that drive in the bag." He turned her to face him. "Some people call it coincidence. I call it destiny." 10 years later, their foundation had helped thousands of homeless youth find stability and purpose. Little Elena, her heart now strong and healthy, had inherited her mother's artistic talent, while Michael showed his father's aptitude for technology. The family divided their time between Chicago and a small village in Puerto Rico, where they had established a community center in Elena Rosario's hometown. "One act of kindness," Maya often told the children they helped, "can start a chain reaction that changes the world." If you were moved by Maya and Elijah's journey, please like this video and subscribe to see more stories that remind us of our shared humanity. Where are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments below.